Get comfortable. It's time for chapter 38 in the tale of Despereaux. This chapter is called To the Dungeon. The strange threesome made their way down the golden stairs of the castle. The princess and Meg walked side by side, and Despereaux hid himself again in the pocket of Meg's apron, and Meg pointed the sharp tip of the knife at the princess's back, and together they went down, down, down. The princess was led to her fate as around her everyone slept. The king slept in his giant bed with his crown on his head and his hands crossed on his chest, dreaming that his wife, the queen, was a bird with green and gold feathers who called his name, Philip, 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 without ceasing. Cook slept in a too small bed off the kitchen, dreaming of a recipe for soup that she could not find. Where did I put that? She mumbled in her sleep. Where did that recipe go? It was for the queen's favorite soup. I must find it. And not far from Cook, in the pantry, atop a bag of flour, slept the mouse Despereaux, dreaming, as you know, reader, of knights in shining armor, of darkness and of light. And in the whole of the darkened, sleeping castle, there was only the light of the candle in the hand of Miguel. The candle shone on the princess's dress and made it sparkle, and the princess walked tall in the light and tried not to be afraid. In this story, reader, we have talked about the heart of the mouse and the heart of the rat and the heart of the servant girl Miguel, but we've not talked about the heart of the princess. Like most hearts, it is complicated, shaded with dark and dappled with light. The dark things in the princess's heart were these: a very small, very hot, burning coal of hatred for the rat who was responsible for her mother's death. And the other darkness was a tremendous sorrow, a deep sadness that her mother was dead, and that the princess could now only talk to her in her dreams. And what of the light in the princess's heart? Reader, I am pleased to tell you that the P was a kind person, and perhaps more important, she was empathetic. Do you know what it means to be empathetic? I will tell you. It means that when you are being forcibly taken to a dungeon, when you have a large knife pointed at your back, when you are trying to be brave, you are able still to think for a moment of the person who is holding that knife. You are able to think, oh, poor Meg, she wants to be a princess so badly, and she thinks that this is the way. Poor, poor Meg. What must it be like to want something that desperately? That, reader, is empathy. Now you have a small map of the princess's heart. Hatred, sorrow, kindness, empathy. The heart that she carried inside her as she went down the golden stairs and through the kitchen, and finally, just as the sky outside the castle began to lighten, down into the dark of the dungeon with the rat and the servant girl. Chapter 39. Missing. The sun rose and shed light on what Despereaux and Miguel had done, and finally Despereaux awoke. But alas, he awoke too late. I haven't seen her, Louise was shouting, and I tell you, I wash my hands of her. If she's missing, I say good riddance to bad rubbish. Despereaux sat up. He looked behind him. Oh, his tail! Gone! Given over to the knife, and where the tail should be, nothing but a bloody stump. And more foul play! Gregory dead, shouted Cook. Poor old man, that rope of his broken by who knows what, and him lost in the dark and frightened to death because of it. It's too much. Oh no, whispered Despereaux. Oh no, Gregory is dead. The mouse got to his feet and began the long climb down from the shelf. Once he was on the floor, he stuck his head around the corner of the pantry and saw Cook standing in the center of the kitchen, wringing her fat hands. Beside her stood a tall woman jangling a ring of keys. That's right, said Louise. All the king's men was down there searching for her in the dungeon, and when they came back up, who do they have with them? They have the old man, dead. And now you tell me that Meg is missing, and I say, who cares? Despereaux made a small noise of despair. He had slept too long. The rat had already acted. The princess was missing. What kind of world is it, Miss Louise, where princesses are taken from right under our noses and queens drop dead, and we can't even take comfort in soup? And with this, Cook started to cry. "Shh," said Louise. "I beg you, do not say that word." "Soup!" shouted Cook. "I will say it. No one can stop me. Soup, soup, soup." And then she began to cry in earnest, wailing and sobbing. "There," said Louise. She put a hand out to touch Cook, and Cook slapped it away. "It will be all right," said Louise. Cook brought the hem of her apron up to wipe her tears. "It won't," she said. "It won't be all right ever again. They've taken away our little darling. There ain't nothing left to live for without the princess." Despereaux was amazed to have exactly what was in his heart spoken aloud by such a ferocious, mouse-hating woman as Cook. Louise again reached out to touch Cook, and this time Cook allowed her to put an arm around her shoulder. "What will we do? What will we do?" wailed Cook. And Louise said, "Shh, there." Alas, there was no one to comfort Despereaux, and there was no time, anyway, for him to cry. He knew what he had to do. He had to find the king. For, having heard Roscoe's plan, reader, Despereaux knew that the princess was hidden in the dungeon, and being somewhat smarter than Miguel, he sensed that the terrible unspoken truth behind Roscoe's words. He knew that Mig could never be a princess, and he knew that the rat, once he captured the pea, would never let her go. And so, the small mouse who only been dipped in oil, covered in flour, and relieved of his tail slipping out of the pantry, and past the weeping woman, he went to find the king. That's the end of that chapter. I really hope Despereaux is able to save the pea. Poor thing has been through so much. Alright, we're going to stop there. Bye.